here to help us celebrate that amazing win over Chelsea. We've got a man who made 141 league appearances over 6 years with 11 goals. Runner-up Hammer of the Year 1990 as well.
The big one.
Stuart Slater.
Yeah. Hello, guys. How you doing?
Welcome.
Thanks for coming in.
Mate, what a time to be a West Ham fan.
Oh, amazing, isn't it, eh?
We're flying.
In third in the league at the minute. Obviously, Slaven Bilic come in and brought these new attacking, creative players, exciting. God, their wins at, Liverpool, Arsenal, City, Chelsea at home. My goodness. Brilliant.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, God.
Brilliant.
We can't say what a time to be alive anymore because Drake's stolen it. So, amazing scenes.
Yeah, amazing scenes. Incredible scenes. And you were on the pitch at half-time as well there?
I was lucky enough to be invited back as a guest, but I was working, so I was doing my ambassador role in lounges, and then at half-time they asked me if I wanted to come down and be introduced to the crowd about one of the performances that was supposed to be one of the better nights, Upton Park, when we beat Everton, when I had a reasonable good game.
And you scored the second goal.
I scored the second goal. It was a scuffed goal. That was the only way that I could beat Neville Southall. It was the Everton goalkeeper then. It was fantastic, but it was scuffed and it went in the corner. Had I hit it brilliantly, he would have saved it.
And then the next match was a Keith Hackett match, wasn't it?
God,
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Well, yeah, don't blow the gold.
Nah.
We need to keep people listening to this podcast. Feedback from last week's episode, because obviously we had Matty Everton.
Yeah, we had Matty Everton. So Bully Hammer said, fantastic. No, he didn't. He said, fascinating podcast. Horrible reliving that cup final, my 50th birthday, but so interesting hearing Matty's memories, especially of Pards and Curbs. Wasn't a fan of Curbs, was he? So Mascherano was blinded in training. Even players couldn't figure out why he wasn't playing. Somebody really has to interrogate Pardew about that one day. We would love Pardew on here. Big George replied about Mascherano. He wasn't playing because in the first couple of Premier League games he was terrible. We got taken apart at Man City. He couldn't cope with the pace of English football and directly cost us goals.
Oh.
And then Hong Kong Hammer said the last two guests of Everton and Pearce have been brilliant. Both came across as genuinely caring about the club, still to this day, and really interesting to hear about their playing time. Will be all over Matty's book for sure. There's also someone said thanks for the apology about the dive. That's the main thing that people annoyed about the dive against Stoke, but he made the point he wanted to get to an FA Cup final.
Yeah.
And part of me thinks, well, I might do the same.
Stuart, fond memories of Matt Everton?
Yeah, I think he did quite well. Obviously, wide players down at West Ham. If you can beat people and you're exciting, I mean, obviously you got a crowd on a bet. And I think Matty did that at times.
That's why I always remember fondly about your playing days. You could beat people. It's so exciting.
Yeah, I mean, initially, when I was there, I was a forward player. I grew up under Tony Carr, did the academy scene or schoolboy scene, and I was a centre forward. And then I think it was the old famous Oldham game where it was the replay. We got beat 6-0 in the 6-0 in the first one, then massacre on Valentine's. It was a nightmare, absolute. But the second leg, Billy Bonds said we've got to go for it. So he played me in behind the front two, and we were brilliant that day. I mean, we won 3-0 when we hit the crossbar at the post, but it was a one-off game. Two centre forwards scored. I had a good game, but the next game was a league game and he couldn't do that format again. So he said, fantastic, can you just play a little bit wider, drift a little bit wider, but come in? So I said, okay. And I thought, he said I did reasonably well, and I stayed wide ever since that game, and I didn't really enjoy playing wide.
Yeah, we'll get into the detail of your career a bit later.
Especially that Oldham game.
That Oldham game, we're going to dedicate
games.
some serious time to it. Was that it for feedback?
Yes, that's it for feedback.
Excellent. All right, well, let's just talk about Chelsea.
Okay, but what about, do you want to talk about best places you've listened?
We could do that right now.
Okay, let's do it now. And I want to mention the blogging awards because I want to get people to vote for us.
Okay.
So let's get through. Do you do
Why don't you mention
places?
the blogging awards
Okay,
first?
so we're up for an award in Manchester in a few weeks. It's the Football Blogging Awards. We're up for Best Podcast and Best Forum. KUMB's up for Best Forum. And you can vote for us, and Chris will come round to your house and do whatever needs to be done to get that vote. It's www.footballbloggingAwards.co.uk. Or you can tweet, I'm voting in at the FBAs for KUMB.com as the best football podcast or the best forum. I'm going to tweet a link when this goes up tomorrow. You just need to click on it and tweet that link and get us that award. Let's bring that silverware home.
Yeah, I mean, we've decided in the last 24 hours that we will be attending the award ceremony. So I can't tell you how important it is you vote, because we don't want to be sat there while the Dennis Bergkamp podcast goes up there. The Dennis Bergkamp podcast. We don't want to sit there with these other teams. Go on, you're a West Ham fan. Have some pride.
Yeah, so if
Vote
we ask one thing of you to vote for us, go on the website or tweet. It's really, really appreciated. The KUMB, Graham's been running for a long time, and all those moderators, they deserve it as well. And hopefully you guys think we do. So please vote for us. It'll be much appreciated.
Please. Lastly, in terms of feedback, last week we created a new section of the podcast where we're going to rate all the different places you will listen to this podcast to. And let's begin that segment now. Stuart, would you like to join in here?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start off with, what have we got here? Okay, so Manchester Piccadilly Station, Gary S. there.
Average.
I mean, that's not...
Dean Cross, car park.
Yeah, Dean Cross in the car park there. We had Nick Maddox, Margaret River, Western Australia.
Oh, that looks nice.
He's got a beautiful kind of beach scene there, and there's a nice little the rolling tide coming in.
Yeah, here's my issue with some of these guys is that there's no proof they are there. They could have just gone off Google Images.
Yes.
I want to see some part of you in shot.
Yeah. So we've got Casey Watson here, who's viewing from his bunk in the tour bus as he listens to the KUMB pod somewhere in France. There, Stuart, look at that.
The old firm casuals.
Yeah, that looks all right.
I like that. That's proper rock and roll.
Yeah, in the bunk.
Yeah. A dog in car park.
Yeah.
The tour bus is intriguing. What was the band? Casey Watson, can you tell us what the band was?
I think it's the old firm casuals.
Yeah. Really? They've got a tour bus?
Yeah.
That big?
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
And West Ham fans.
Yeah, we had Kevin Lewis, who said he was on a beach somewhere in Turkey, but the shot is just him.
No, he tweeted another picture because I questioned it of him on the beach.
Once again, is that a real picture? It could be anywhere.
Now we had one from Rob McTaggart. He's been listening sandwiched up against the C2C rail toilet. But a few of these there, Stuart. Don't you see? Just literally a toilet and a bit of a bike and a wicker basket attached to the front of a bike there.
What's in the wicker basket?
Yes.
I want to know.
Yeah. What are you hiding, Rob?
Yeah. Nice one here. Samuel Pappy, 150 kilometres northeast of Songkhla, over the Gulf of Thailand there. That's a nice bit of wing there. Bit of wing action there, a bit of sky. Sean Johnson, listen to the pod in San Diego Bay, California.
I mean, that's rubbing it in.
That is nice, isn't it?
Nice place,
I think we've got an early leader there. Yeah. I'm giving it to
what about
Sean
that guy
Johnson.
in the forest? Here we go. He's up next.
Sean Small Bean Regarder is listening to the pod in his garden in the small town of Bergheim in Sweden. There's a nice little forest scene there.
That is lovely.
That is remote, isn't it?
Yeah.
I want the guy who listens on the Somalian oil rig to send a picture while they're under attack.
Yeah, Kevin Wentworth from Boston, Massachusetts. There, he's just sending us a shot of his trousers around his ankles on the toilet.
You can look all these up if you put in hashtag KUMB.
Go on Twitter, hashtag KUMB pod.
I questioned that toilet shot to prove it was him, and he did take another picture out and about.
I thought that was Dixie.
No, it's not Gillian Dix. It's Steve Cox listening to the SL pod. Who was the SL pod? Can't remember. Marking pitch for at Roxton FC Sunday. Early start there. Impressive. We'll pick out the last few favourites. Jay Can listening on his sunbed in not so sunny Cancun. Still looks alright.
Go to the mascot. Oh, Ecuador's good.
Ecuador.
That's John Selby in Ecuador.
John Selby in Ecuador. I mean, just a metropolis there. A nice little hanging basket.
That's what I like. The mise en scène.
Yeah. Ulf Berg flying between Vienna and Copenhagen. Nice little sky shot. Troy Jones and the Maldives. Look at that. He's wearing a black shirt in Maldives. The man.
A West Ham shirt in the Maldives.
He's burning up. Look at his face all screwed up there. West in Australia. Whole sea on Twitter. Just there in Australia at the beach. Just they're not allowed to leave the car until the KUMB pod is finished.
You've got the guy who's a mascot. I'm going to have to find him. Yeah. He's my favourite.
There's one more apparently.
He's like a Crawley mascot.
Well, we're not
find him.
Well, we've got
time.
Talk
about Chelsea.
We've got time. You can view all those pictures using the hashtag KUMB pod. Submit your best ones. We're going to do this feature for 2 more weeks, and then you're going to win a prize. We don't know what that prize is yet because Graham, the editor, is still digging around his loft to find a suitable prize for your efforts. But keep them coming in. Hashtag KUMB pod. Right. Chelsea.
I want to talk about Chelsea, but I just want to find this one. Here we go. Christopher Diab Blythe. He's listening to pod whilst getting suited up as Crawley Town's mascot, Reggie the Red. That's pretty impressive. Look, there he is.
That is a rival mascot.
Fantastic.
He's listening to the pod while dressing up as a rival mascot.
Look at those legs. How does he get those legs on? But that's quite good. I like that. Well done, Christopher.
Nice.
Share your pictures where you listen to the pod. Hashtag KUMB pod. And in fact, here's some other ways you can get in contact with the show.
Get in touch with the show. Email us at podcast@kumb.com. Join the conversation on Twitter by using the hashtag KUMBpod. Or why not follow us? Chris is at CJ Scull with a C. James is at Longers1. And Graham, editor of KUMB, is at kumb.com. If you're on Facebook, be sure to join the KUMB group for all the latest news and gossip. There's also the KUMB forum for all kinds of chatter. Simply go to kumb.com and click forum. Finally, join the KUMB podcast mailing list. Click this podcast link on kumb.com and sign up for exclusive content from the studio and be the first to know about upcoming live shows. Come on, you Irons.
Lovely. All right, let's begin by talking about Chelsea. What a game, Stuart. I mean, just the frenetic atmosphere. Chelsea meltdown, us playing great stuff. What a day.
Well, initially when we were going to Upton Park, you know, the away form has been brilliant, but the 4 games that we played at home has been, you know, what are we going to get today against Chelsea? And then, obviously, to come out and to play like we did and to dominate, play with passion, play with, you know, the 1-2s, and the fans getting behind us. It's a great time, absolutely amazing time. I mean, when was the last time we beat Chelsea at home? I don't know, as I said.
Well, James, you were saying that's the first victory over Mourinho.
Yes, our first victory.
Crazy.
We usually get our asses handed to us by him, but it was a joy. I mean, what a joy. Other than some anxiety in the second half, it was a dream. It could not have gone better.
Yeah, totally.
You know, the Andy Carroll scoring the winner was a dream for all of us, wasn't it? That's what every week, actually, when he's come on, we were like, wouldn't it be great if he got the winner?
Yeah.
And to actually get the winner, that ball hung in the air for so long, and he powered it home. That's how classy he can be. I love him. Yeah,
we should say as well, Andy Carroll celebrated that goal in front of us, and viewers of Swedish television got in touch to say that they spotted us on camera.
Celebrating
to get it up.
Wow, there you go. It's big in Sweden, so we're moving out.
And Bergen, Sweden.
Yeah,
but a place for Carroll. I mean, obviously, his form in and out really at the minute in the injuries. I mean, you can't not being injured. I mean, I was injured quite a bit in my career, and to come back and have that character and still, you know, put in a performance like that when needed, and you know, obviously you've got to look at Bilic, you know, changing it around a little bit, and obviously going when they've gone down 10 men and putting him on, and you know, great, fantastic, knows what he's doing, doesn't he, at the minute.
Word on Zarate. I mean, what a finish for the opener.
Oh my goodness, he's a West Ham player. I said it many times that we need some West Ham players. I mean, Big Sam Allardyce done a fantastic job for us to get us out of the division and in to stabilise us, but there were still elements there that you need some West Ham players there. And now you look at them, you look at Zarate, you look at Lanzini, and you look at Payet. You've got 3 players plus Sacco, Valencia, pace in the team, people that can hurt teams now. You know, not just 1 or 2 players. You've got players that they're all over the pitch now. Fantastic.
What a day, James.
How far can this squad go?
Wow.
It's a year. It's all pretty much a year. It came on your Facebook, didn't it? That I said I can't ever see us losing again.
You said that. You said that.
and then what?
You said it was a year ago on Sunday. You said I can't see us ever losing again. 24 hours after the Chelsea result. So I remember we beat City, didn't we, last year?
Yeah.
I think they were the champions at the time, and
it was glorious. And it's deserved.
Have we seen it? Do you feel like this is different to last year?
I think so. As you know, we've got players that can hurt teams. So even if you're under the cosh, you've got a good shape about it. It seems like we've got a good shape about it. We've got we've got energy. You've got tacklers. You've got winners. You've got creators. You've got a better balance in the team this year. Whereas I think we were a bit stereotyped. You know, where the goals, where the creativity is going to come the last couple of years, 2 or 3 years. Whereas now it can come from all parts.
Yeah, everyone's scoring.
All parts.
Like everyone's scoring.
Yeah.
So what we were talking about loads was the squad depth as well. So we had no Winston, no Moses, no Valencia. Ogbonna was on the bench. Obiang comes on, and I actually forgot when I was writing this earlier. No Song.
No Song. No,
we've got
no
Song. Apparently he's back against Everton. In 2 weeks. I mean,
is he going to get?
What are you going to do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Stuart, where does all that fit? How do you manage a squad? We've got a good squad.
That is a great lesson for anybody. It's down to Slaven now and his staff to manage it. Great players there, you know. Victor Moses, I think, has done a fantastic as well since he's been in. But sometimes you think, You know, these boys have done really, really well. They've got the jersey at the minute.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's theirs to lose. So if they keep putting in performances like that, these boys might have to be a bit patient. I mean, there is a rotation element to it at the minute, but when we used to play, you used to play 50, 60 games a season. These guys are playing 38 plus a few cup games, and they want to play week in, week out. And that's where you get the consistency and the continuity in how players play. You get to understand. It's fantastic for the club. Brilliant problems.
It's great, and they seem so confident. That's what I love about it. They all come out. What I liked actually was instead we don't do a pre-match huddle. We do pre-match cuddles. Everyone went round having a cuddle.
Yeah.
It was really heartwarming.
Yeah.
Every player there, Payet was going up to everyone, Tompkins was going up to everyone, Kouyaté, they all seem to really get on.
It's a camaraderie, isn't it?
The pictures, them all tweeting afterwards, and it seems like a really good spirit in that team.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting. I mean, Kouyaté, I absolutely love. I mean, what a player.
That's where we're talking about energy, pace, athleticism. Needing the modern game, but
just picking the pockets of Chelsea. Every time they got the ball, he just popped in and took it off. I mean, amazing, and with a smile.
The other thing I love about him is the way he whips up the crowd. You see him going to the Bobby Moore loan, 12 minutes to go. He was going, come on. I love that.
The shape looks good, and when we're talking about winning games breeds confidence, and you can do that. I mean, I was there for the Bournemouth game. First 20 minutes, and oh my goodness, the fans sort of, and it was. I was a fan, and I'm thinking, my goodness, look at this. And you could see a little bit of confidence draining the boys, and you think, where's this going to go? But fortunately for us, we've turned it around. But
fortunately, because post-Bournemouth, we were... That is the first time in years I've come out going, I know. We're going to get relegated.
The funny thing about that game is you really did have fear. Like, you had the fear. We went for a drink in the Black Lion in Plaistow afterwards, and it was the first time you really had the fear in your eyes off that Bournemouth game.
I couldn't see us getting out because it was so bad.
It was brilliant, but a couple of signings, 2 or 3 signings, a bit more time with them on the training field. Yeah. I think he's got that aura. Slaven Bilic's got an aura where when he comes out onto the training ground, like John Law, I'm sure Sam had it as well, but it goes up, the intensity of training, and it goes up. Oh, is Slaven out here watching, and is he there? It just goes up another notch.
Yeah. We should mention, I know there's the usual suspects who get mentioned up, Payet and Kouyaté, but we should mention James Collins, who I thought had an absolute stormer. Yeah. I was worried that Winston wasn't playing, but I thought Collins was outstanding. Yeah. He steps up when he's needed, and he was brilliant.
I mean, you just got to follow. I followed him for about 5 minutes on Saturday. Obviously, I was in the Bobby Moore Greenwood Lounge, and I watched him for 5 minutes, and you look at the information, the knowledge. Do I press? Do I drop off? Do I cover? The decisions that he has to make. I mean, the back players do. I mean, then that goes unnoticed because we all tend to follow the ball and see what people do on the ball. And like you said about Payet and Zarate and all the forward players, they get all the plaudits. But you look at the defensive side of people, and do they push the decisions that they have to make the correct ones? That goes amiss. Like I said, fantastic. He did a great job in Tompkins at the weekend. Brilliant.
And I guess there's not that much more to speak about, but we should speak about that wonderful 5 minutes of farce where the sending off, where everything was just, as a fan, that is so funny and exciting to watch, where everything just goes a bit bonkers. Like, you couldn't quite work out what's going on. There's a great he wasn't sent off, then he got sent off, and then the ref went over to the assistant manager, he got a yellow card, and something else happened. It was just a brilliant few moments where it's like, what's going on? This is wonderful.
I was in the tunnel at the time because obviously I was getting presented at half time, so I went down there 5 minutes before, and I was actually in the tunnel when Matic came off straight away, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, you could see the sweat, and I'm thinking, that was the first time I thought, I want to be out there. I took all my career for granted. And then a minute later, the assistant, and he's shouting and screaming. I don't know what that Italian, I think. He comes up.
Amazing.
And then, obviously, my mate who's the head of security comes up with Mourinho and whispers in his ear, you're going to go upstairs. And I saw it firsthand. It was like, what's going on?
And what was Mourinho's face as he went down there?
He was quite... I think he had his dealing with the ref right down at the bottom of the tunnel, but when he's coming up, I think he knew what was happening, and obviously the security guy's going, I'm going to have to take you upstairs, you're going to have to watch it from there. And he was quite calm at the time. I mean, I must say, obviously I know it's a West Ham, but Mourinho, before the game, he was in disco, it was the warm-up, and he was talking to the mascots, West Ham mascots.
Oh, was he?
And one of the mascots, there was a dozen of them, was going, "We're going to beat you. We're going to beat you." And Mourinho's going, okay, cool. He's gone up to see, obviously, Chelsea warm up, and then he's come back down, and he's gone, "Which one of you guys has said, we're going to beat you? We're going to beat you?" And one of the boys puts his hand up. It was me. We're going to beat you. We're going to beat you. He gets on. He said, "Right." He said, "I'll have a little bet with you." He said, "If we win, I have your shirt. If you win, I'll get you a signed shirt from Chelsea." And the fella was like, "Oh, whether that happened I don't know."
Maybe that's where he was at a press conference.
It remains to be seen.
Get the shirt signed.
You know, these things, you know, it's brilliant, you know, for a West Ham fan and all that, giving him all that sort of stuff, and he can have a little bit of banter before the game.
And that picture was brilliant of him stood up in the director's box at the back.
That picture of him stood up at the back is pretty. Yeah, it's funny. Isn't it?
It's remarkable.
Did you see what Danny Dyer did?
Yes.
He walked past Jose Mourinho and took a video going, "Oh mate," like past him.
Really?
Yeah, winding it up.
What day?
Brilliant.
Right, we should talk about your career, Stuart.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we need to wind the clock right back to October 1987. In the charts at the time, You Win Again, Bee Gees. Stuart, was that one of their most kind of underrated tunes?
You Win Again. I don't think we were winning at that time. That's why I was on the bench, and then Win Again. It was one of the Bee Gees. Yeah, I quite like that. I like that tune.
It's your first match. You were 16, right? Did you play
17
when you came on?
Yeah, I came on. Yeah, I was a sub, and I can remember 10 minutes. And warming up, my legs were like jelly. I'm thinking, my goodness, what am I doing? This is what I've dreamt out this work for. Yep. But 17 years of age, the crowd, it was a bit of a blur.
Right.
But yeah.
Was it for Ray Stewart?
I think, it was, yeah. I mean, Tony Cotty was playing and all. Yeah, and it was after the 85 side, so there was still a lot of good players in that 85, though it was 87, that I watched as apprentice. We were watching them week in, week out, and they were so close to winning. And to actually watch them and then play with them, I think that got me, you know, I was in awe of them a little bit at the time.
It's a funny period when you come into the team, because obviously at 85-86, the heralded team that finished third nearly won the title. And then the few years after that, when you come into the team, they're struggling pretty much all the time. Yeah. Like, so what was it that caused that?
I think... personnel. I think did McAvenny. I think Frank went to Celtic.
Yeah, that's right.
Paul Goddard, decent player, great player. He was as well. I think it was like Tony Cotty was on the verge of leaving. I think there was a few. Dev was injured and it might have been another year. Some senior players getting a little bit older as well. But what we did, I've got some videos there that we still played some decent football. We didn't get the results, but some of the one and two touch football. I mean, it was Newcastle. And I've got a video. My dad kept all my videos, and I've only just started to look at them again. All these years, never watched them. And some of the football, the fans were just going absolutely in awe of it. But we got beat 2-0. But some of the football we played was brilliant, breathtaking. So we were probably pleasing to the eye, but weren't clinical enough to get the results in that era, I don't think.
Yeah. Weirdly, that was one of my favourite times, because I was just I guess I was 10, I think, and I was just starting to. You know, I loved West Ham so much, and I didn't mind really if we won or lost. Yeah. Do you know, you just go for a stage. I just was happy to support West Ham. I used to come down to Clubhouse when you guys were training, down to the stadium when you guys were training, hang around that porter cabin outside, and get one of the merchandise lists. And when you guys came out, you'll remember me, of course. You all used to sign it for me. Yeah. And that was one of my favourite times as a kid. I just remember how exciting it was to be around West Ham. And
obviously you could get in, and you could even watch the training down there if you were obviously near the security. Nowadays, no chance. But that era, you're a bit closer to what they are now.
Yeah. And let's talk about John Lyle, obviously the legend that is John Lyle. Amazing. What was it like working with him? How did he bring you through?
Oh, he was just incredible. I mean, I think everybody that's played under him for quite a few games, he had this aura about him. The respect, the knowledge, the man management. He could be firm, he could be soft, he could put your arm around you, but he had this aura and presence that when he came out on the training ground, like I think Slaven's got, that you'd look for him up in the state, if it's reserve or youth team or first team, he just had that presence where you've got to do it, and it was just his management, his nature, but his knowledge was second to none. I can remember Alex Ferguson speaking about him, obviously since he's passed away, at his dinner. And this is the sort of man that Alex Ferguson thought. He said that we met on holiday and they hit it off straight away. So he was at Aberdeen, then he got the Man United job, and John Lyall would phone him up and say, Alex, what are you doing? This is not a Man United side. What are you doing? Why are you buying in? And Alex Ferguson said, no one spoke to me like that. Everyone said, yeah, you're the greatest, you're this, you're that. And he said, I knew he was a proper person. He said, because he, when they needed to be told that weren't right, he was the only one that was doing it. And his knowledge was great. He said, any time after that he wanted advice, he'd go to John Lyall. He held him in that high esteem. Right. And we all did, all the players that played for him. His knowledge, he was like a Wenger in the 70s and 80s. He tried to do the sports science then, and probably got the wrong person, the lady, and guys that were in the 30s didn't really buy into it. But the sports science in football nowadays is just it's beyond belief now. But he tried to instill that in the 70s and 80s, and he was strong enough, totally. But it was probably the people that he had in at the time that weren't strong enough to take some stick from senior players, really. But I owe him a lot. He gave me an opportunity, and the style of football that he played was just great to play. 1 and 2 touch, flair play, exciting play. Just miss him, and I owe him a lot for the career that I had.
Yeah, in terms of the career you went on to have, you obviously came through the academy. So in and around your year, you've got Paul Ince, Kevin Keane, Steve Potts. I mean, that's a good period of time for the academy coming through. Alan
Dickens, Georgie Paris. There was a conveyor belt, but I think at that time we just needed to produce players. We didn't have the money to buy players, so we needed to produce players, and maybe at the end, we ended up selling them off, and that was the only way. And that's how we survived, and that's probably why we were a little bit of a yo-yo side, because we didn't have a lot of money. We had to sell players to keep surviving, really, at the time. But that conveyor belt. But I always believe that Tony Carr did a fantastic job. The scouting system, Ronnie Gales, the Eddie Baileys at the time, the Mick McGivens and Ronnie, they were really key to that as well. If it weren't for them, we could have fell down the leagues quite comfortably. But they gave us an opportunity. How do you know when you're good enough? They believed in your ability, totally, but how do you know when someone's good enough? West Ham gave us the opportunity to see if we were, and that was the great thing about playing for West Ham. That's why a lot of kids did go to West Ham at that, because they were going to be given a chance. It's
funny because with the academy, you go on to essentially be coaching with the academy too under Tony Carr. So I mean, you were there. You've got a hell of a time span. I mean, how much did things change from when you were coming up in the academy to now?
Yeah, Tony Carr used to do it with a couple others, like I said, Jimmy Frith, Ronnie Gale, a few other Stambert, all these sort of people that did it for virtually nothing, but they wanted to be associated with the club. So every team that Tony Carr had, he had 3 or 4 lieutenants, but they did the 10s, they did the 11s, they did the 12s. They did it on their own. 7 days a week, 6 nights a week they were. 6 nights a week, 7 days a week. They were just West Ham people. They wanted to do it for the good of the club. And the amount of talent that they brought through was incredible. Nowadays, I know Tony's got probably he's obviously an ambassador and Terry's taken over, but they've probably got 25, 30 staff now that are getting paid. Yeah. It's such a multi-million-pound industry, even at the academy level, that we have to produce players now, because obviously you're spending millions of pounds and you need to produce players. But I spoke to Tony, and I always speak to Tony Carr, and he's great. And he was saying that in our era, we were throwing it 17, 18. The reasons being, I've explained, didn't have no money. Nowadays, we have got the money. These players are going to come in a little bit longer. Yeah. Are they going to be patient? The Elliot Lees, the Dan Potts gone to Luton, Robert Hall, who I thought was a decent player. He went to Bolton, now is at Milton Keynes, Blair. Are they going to be patient? Because they might take a lot longer to come through. Not 17, 18, it might be 20, 21. Football's such a short career that these boys want to play. So that's the big change, I feel. Having said that, we've got one boy that came in and made his debut at 16, Reece Oxford. Yeah. And I saw him last year, and I spoke to my son about him, and I said, he's your age. and he's double the size of my son. I said, he's going to play in the first team next year. They've told me, Terry Wesley and Tony Carr have said, this boy's going to play next year.
Yeah.
Didn't think it was going to be as soon as the Arsenal. I thought it was going to be
all
later
winning,
all winning. And putting in a performance like he did, it was light years above himself. So you're hoping that, I mean, physicality and mentally, he was good enough to do that. And they threw him in. Was he going to... He sold for it. He's brilliant. I mean, to play against world-class World Cup winning players and to dominate them, brilliant. And that's what you've got, we've got to sort of achieve as well. Get that balance, maybe to bring in 2 or 3. That would be nice. And I know that the owners and Karen Brady would like to do that, totally.
So let's go back to your first start. So you started against Southampton.
Yeah.
Clash of heads. Yeah. What happened?
Russell Osman. Remember Russell Osman, centre half? England centre half. I used to watch Ipswich and West Ham. I mean, being Suffolk and Essex boy, so I used to alternate it. But when I got tickets to go to West Ham, but I used to watch Ipswich. Well, Russell Osman was the centre half, and he was a tough cookie. And I made my debut at Southampton, and the ball went down the channel, and it was only about 5-10 minutes, and he's gone with his elbow right into my ear straight away. And he's gone to me, welcome to the big league now. So,
He actually said that.
welcome to the big league. He gave me, and I'm like, he knew I was going to make my debut because it was in the press, would I, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
And young boy, Russell Osman was a senior player, played so many times for England, but blood, I've got a picture with blood coming out my ear roll.
Yeah, I saw that
blood
coming out your ear
roll. It was one of them where I've gone down there, but his knowledge and experience and know-how, right, I'm going to show you, if you want to be...
I don't know if that's experience or didn't know. That's brutality.
He could get away with it. I mean, those days...
Did he get booked for it?
I don't think he did. I think you could. I mean, we'll speak about Julian Dix used to intimidate people left, right, and centre before they even came out. How many times would he be getting sent off nowadays? But you could get away. There were some tough cookies out there that would say, "Right, welcome to the game. This is a tough game." And it's not as tough as what it used to be. You could get away with murder in those days and not get booked, even get booked.
Well, you bring up Julian Dix. So in your debut, when you first 87-88 season, Julian Dix comes in. I mean, what was it? He new kid on the scene. I think he'd come from Bristol, hadn't he? Or Birmingham.
Yeah, he came from Birmingham. Poor dear, he was such
who is this guy?
Yeah, great left foot, strong personality. Didn't say too much when he first came because he was a young lad. And, we had Alvin Martins and Tony Gales, top pros that had been there for a long time, and they were, big personalities as well. But Julian, he didn't have to say too much. He did it in training, he did it in the game. We knew what sort of character he had then. But for me personally, he was just brilliant. When I did get moved to the wide areas, especially a wide left, Julian was great because he used to say to me, "You do all your stuff going forward." He said, "Don't bother tracking back too much. If you can, great." He said, "But if I can't deal with him one-on-one," he said, "I can't be a defender. I shouldn't be a defender." He said, "I'm going to smash him." He said, if they don't get past me, if they get past me, he said, "I'm bringing them down." So he said, "You just say I'll give away free kicks." But generally, he didn't give away free kicks because his timing of the tackles and his ferocity and sort of intimidate the right winger straight away. And that's when I had my best spell playing wide left. I mean, I thought I did quite well when I played through the middle, but when I played wide left with Julian Dix, because I had the energy to go forward because I didn't have to track back as much. Yeah. So I wasn't out of breath as much. So I had so much energy and to do my stuff, and then he would still come by me and. I'd use his runs or I'd use him, and he'd put decent deliveries. He's brilliant play with. Great character.
What was he like in training? Obviously, Billy Bond said he wasn't the best trainer. In those early days, was he good, and did he let it kind of slip?
I mean, everyone knew after a year, season 2 years, that fans' favourite. You knew you were going to get consistency out of him in a game. So he didn't train great running wise. I mean, I think that's where and. Discipline-wise, he would just kick everybody, regardless who they were. Yeah. And I remember he tackled Mike Small once. Mike Small was a massive, big boy, and he just went through him and put him right up in the air. And Smalley's going, "What are you doing?" And Dixie said, "Look, if I can't try like I play," he said, "what's the point? I need to train like I play, because obviously if I just go half-heartedly in training," he said, "I ain't going to be able to do it in a game. This is the only way I can play." And everyone, when you play like that, when you play trying against him, you just got to get rid of the ball as quick as you can because you're going to go up in the air, play 1 and 2 touch. And John Lyle was a great believer in me. He said, if you keep getting kicked, you're not sharp enough, so you got to play quicker, play 1 and 2 touch.
Wow.
So when Julian used to be against, I used to try it, bang, get away, because otherwise I'd be up in the air.
87, 88, we stay up, but Tony Cottee sold at the end, and I guess this really becomes a period of West Ham establishing themselves as a bit of a selling club over the next few years. I mean, was it a gutting thing when Tony Cottee got sold? You're like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, it was. I think he got sold for $2 million, but you guys probably weren't old enough, were you? When the bond scheme,
the
bond scheme,
that too.
That was a big problem with the board and the fans. Selling Tony Cottee at the time, good player, big money. Where's that money going? Is that getting reinvested in the team? No, probably didn't. The bond scheme. So it was a tough era after Tony going. We were a bit of a yo-yo side then. We had a good cup run, but there wasn't the money wasn't put back into the club at the time, and the fans were against the board. I think obviously Lou McCurry came in after John as well, and he upset a few senior players, the style of training, the style of play that we wanted to play, and then to appease everyone, we bring Bill back, and Bill his hands were pretty tied with money and bits and pieces like that, but he got the best out of us.
The Knees of Mother Brown West Ham podcast is brought to you by aasport.com/West Ham. Watford away this weekend, James.
Yes.
And if you were going to place a bet, you could get triple the odds.
Wow.
Imagine it.
I can't. We always say the same thing.
Still, it's good. It is good. aasport.com/West Ham. You go on there and you place your first bet and you get triple the odds. It's better than anywhere else, I imagine.
Amazing scenes.
Without researching it. I don't know. aasport.com/West Ham. So the following season, 88-89, we go down, obviously, like, as you just said, and McAvenny's second spell with the club. I mean, he wasn't the same player, was he, when he came back for that second time?
We didn't see the best of him because of Chris Kamara, really. Chris Kamara. I mean, he initially started a few games, and then, oh dear, it was a dreadful tackle, a real dreadful tackle. Virtually finished Frank at the time. He was out for the whole season. He was a god upwards when he left here, and he was a god at Celtic. So, obviously, prior to him coming back, he wanted to come back. London, West Ham, great club. Plays a few games and gets smashed by Chris Kamara, and he's out. And when you come back from a serious injury, obviously an operation, you're never ever quite the same. And I feel as a forward player, Frank was quite sharp, and I felt I was quite quick and sharp. But if you have an operation or a serious injury, you lose a little bit of pace, only a little bit of pace. But that is the difference between getting away from players.
Yeah.
You might be able to trick somebody, but to get away from players, that's where that little bit of speed and pace and sharpness goes away from you, and people say you're not the same player. But to come back from that operation, or obviously that injury, to play again was a credit to him. But yeah, we probably didn't see the best of him.
Did you feel that season that you were going down?
It was tough. It was tough, but everything went against us. We had some good players.
Yeah.
Some good players, and for whatever reason, we didn't perform that well. Loss of form, loss of confidence. The fans are the best in the world, without a doubt. It was still with the chicken run. It was still tight, but they soon let you know if you weren't putting it in. And I think there was quite a few players that, if things weren't going well, probably wouldn't want the ball as much as what they would if you're winning. I mean, winning football breeds confidence. Yeah. That's easy. But so I think playing at home, I don't think we won many games at home as well. It wasn't a very good season, no, not at all.
And obviously, John Lyle comes under a lot of pressure from the West Ham fans. And some editor of Knees of Mother Brown, Graham, describes it as a similar atmosphere to Big Sam towards the end, where the fans were really kind of on the manager's back, and after all John Lyle had done for the club. I mean, was there an element of the players that thought the fans, were really almost against West Ham, or not giving the support they needed to give?
I think if John hadn't he got through that period, I think he would have been there for another 10 years, without a doubt. I think the obviously McAvenny injury, I think Tony Cottee leaving, I think senior players were getting a bit older, younger players were coming through, but John was great. He wanted to protect the young players as well, because sometimes if things are not going well, he'd like to dip the young players in and out. So hands were a little bit tied with that. He knew he had to rebuild the team again, and had he been given time, which over the years and the amount of times that he managed the club, I felt that he deserved to get that, and it was a shock.
Yeah.
Because he had to sell the best players as well. He if you'd have spoke to every single player at that time, they would have said, stick with John. His knowledge, his experience, his management. Give him a little bit of time. He would have turned it around without a doubt.
It's sad, isn't it? It's almost like that's the kind of the end of old football for West Ham, really, because obviously we start churning through managers quite quickly after that.
Yeah.
It's just a sort of kind of sad era. Obviously, Lyle goes that summer of '89. In comes Lou Macari, a man who you say, the training wasn't the best. Alan Devonshire said he would just train you to death, regardless. He didn't care, almost like the match on Saturday didn't matter. I mean, was that your experience?
I was a young lad, and Lou, because he was up against it with Dev and Alvin and Tony Gale, and there was some senior and there was some strong characters, and they didn't want John to go. No one wanted John to go, but it's always difficult when a new manager comes in. But he had that up against him already, and then when his training regimes, I was quite lucky because I was young. Had I been in my 30s and the training that we got, I remember going up to, I'm sure somebody might have said this, but we went up to Hull on a Friday, and he said, right guys, we're going to go up in the morning, no problem. So we're going to train, we're going to travel up on Friday morning, and we'll just get up there. So we think, oh, no training here. Okay, he's relaxed a little bit. So the training through the week's been pretty hard. So we get up there, it takes 4 or 5 hours to get up there, and 2 o'clock we're thinking, no, we might go for just a nice little walk around the whole area, where the hotel was. And all of a sudden he says, get your trainers on, boys.
Oh.
And we're going, we ain't got trainers, we've got a tracksuit, but they're not real trainers. So, okay, if you ain't got trainers, you're going to have to wear your moulds. Okay, so we're wearing our moulds. Where are we training? Oh, we're going for a run. What? Where are we going for a run? We're going for a run round the hotel, on the streets, on the cobbles and all that. And we're all looking at each other and we're going, what is this, Friday afternoon? We've got a game Saturday. And we end up doing sprints down this old housing estate down at the bottom. We do a run, we do a 20-minute run, and then we're doing 80 yards, 90 yards at the bottom. And I was just happy to be at the club to be and playing the first team, so it didn't bother me at all. But looking back at it, when I look at Dev and Alvin and Tony Gale, whoever was there at the time, they must have thought, what was going on?
Yeah.
We didn't get the result on Saturday anyway, so we were all shattered.
Maybe it's probably safer to keep on the running hole.
It's
keep running, moving target. Do you think it was the wrong appointment? Were the club obviously trying to get her out of the kind of West Ham academy and trying to get some new blood in, possibly, but it just wasn't the right appointment?
Possibly. I mean, Lou Macari was brilliant for me. I've got a lot of respect for Lou. He was very kind, and he did really look after me, but it probably was the wrong appointment at the time. Lou had been at Swindon, I think he'd been somewhere else, but his philosophy, he was, his training methods were totally different to maybe John Lyle's, and possibly it needed somebody in between John and Lou. I mean, it went from one extreme to the, and there would have been some good candidates about, and obviously he only lasted under a year, and the pressure was too great, and the peer pressure from the players fed back to the board, which was disappointing for Lou, really.
Yeah, but we do kind of owe Lou a little bit. We should give him a little bit of credit, because he brings in Lou McCloskey, Trevor Morley, Ian Bishop. Yeah. Good lads, Stuart.
Brilliant lads, great lads. Ludo. I mean, I ended up rooming with Ludo, and what he achieved at the club and what he's achieved in life is brilliant, because when he first came, he had a translator. It checked to English, and when I was in the obviously in the room, and we'd had evening lunch, and we came back. The
translator's in the hotel room with you?
No, he had a book. Sorry, we couldn't afford them, but he was trying to pronounce the word the. and he was going to me, and I'm like, what? It's the. So our conversation was an absolute nightmare. Really. I mean, I ended up, but he was into his translator all the time. Every time that we went away and I roomed with him, he, so from not being able to pronounce the word to his Cockney accent now. I saw him last year, and and to play 300-400 games for the club and be an absolute inspiration. Brilliant he was. Trev and Ian Bishop, brilliant players, brilliant lads, brilliant people. Ian Bishop could pass the ball better than anybody that I see now.
Didn't Bishop tell us that when Ludo first signed, they were just stuck together, just in a bar, getting smashed together? They didn't speak any English.
No,
they just
right.
sat there getting pissed.
Ludo's a big boy, but Bish, he was a great lad, Bishop. But what a player! Trev was a good player as well. Both were good players. Good, So Lou, I mean, I've always said Lou was brilliant for me. And he brought some good players in as well. Yeah.
And then Billy Bonds takes over from him, obviously. I mean, was that an appointment that all the players were really excited about? They're like,
they were.
Okay, we've got a bit of West Ham back here.
Yeah, they were. And they needed that. And I think, once again, the senior players, obviously the feedback from them to the board, we need somebody that is going to bring back the West Ham way and days. And Billy Bonds was the only person. He was the right man. And, dear, what a man. I still get goosebumps every time I see him. I mean, albeit he sold me.
More on that later.
As I said, but what a man, what a person, what aura. I've got so much respect for that fella, and I think everybody that's played with him or associate with him, he was just a man's man. He was just no fuss, such a humble person, but a good player. But my goodness, could the fella run? Could the fella keep fit? Could the fella just be an inspiration to every single one of us when we trained, when we played, and he didn't have to say much in team meetings, though he did. You just wanted to play for him. I just wanted to play for that man. I mean, and play for the jersey and play for the fan, but him especially, the character and the what he had achieved, and you just want to impress him, and still do now. Even when I see him, as I said, I saw him 2 weeks ago at the and he's still so fit. But everybody just wanted to come up to him and speak to him, and I'm like, I spent 10-12 years with Bill, and it's great to just see him. Yeah, brilliant man, brilliant.
A word on his longevity, because obviously, he played until I think it was 40, I think, and he played in the '75 Cup final, and then again with you. I mean, what a time period! I mean, that's just not going to happen.
Never
Ryan Giggs,
never happened again. It's common knowledge about how he kept himself fit. I mean, and he'd take a few cans home after a game on a Saturday and still have a few beers, so he'd enjoy himself that, but. Private man with his family, but he would do. We used to do this road run to Chadwell Heath. Or we'd go to Hainault as well. We'd run up to Hainault and do our run up there and run back. He was just at 40, 41, 42. And you think you're quite a fit lad at 18, 19, and you think, okay, I'm giving this fella 20, 22, 23 years. I'm going to keep up with him. Yeah. Especially some of the lads that I was 18, 19. We couldn't get nowhere near him. Couldn't get nowhere near him. We're probably 3-4 minutes behind him on a 25, 30-minute run. Yeah. And that's massive distance. Yeah. So how he kept himself fit, I don't know. I mean, he's just incredible man, incredible person.
Yeah. So that 89-90 season, we finished 7th. We don't get promotion, but of course with that League Cup semi, that we've had a lot of questions on that particular game. Was it Oldham?
Yes. 6-0 Oldham. I remember listening to both of those legs on the radio.
On the wireless.
I think, was it February the 14th, I think it was, and it was a rainy day. I can still see it in my head, and it was on that plastic pitch. Yeah. And that plastic pitch was... That's no excuse. We didn't perform on the day. Looking back, and as a fan, probably could we... you've got to die for the cause, but they were so good on that, and we were so poor on the day. Yeah. It was just nightmare. I can just imagine, see the fans, they were leaving after the 4th and 5th goal. They spent good money to go up there after work, and then to get so excited to be close to a semi-final, and to lose it on that day, on that pitch. Devastating it was. Absolutely devastating.
Tesh DeKenno says, which plastic pitch was worse to play on, Boundary Park or Kenilworth Road?
I think they were all QPR was as well. They were just all that. It was a concrete, so as soon as that ball hit the floor, it just bounced up so high again, and we were not renowned as a footballing passing team, but when the ball did bounce, it was difficult to control. I mean, we had some good technical, but it either run off or it bounce up in the air, and physicality, we probably didn't match those sort of teams at the time.
And remember in the home leg where we won 3-0, and you said earlier we hit the bar a couple of times, didn't we? I still believed we could win. When we get 3-0 up and we hit the bar, I was thinking we could win this. That is the West Ham way.
Yeah,
optimistic till the end.
Billy, I remember Billy that day. He just said, "You've got to go out there and put some pride back into those fans that spent all that money." I remember it. He said, "They owe a performance. You've got to put in a performance. Whether you come here, you cut, you've got to put in a performance, massive performance." He didn't have to say nothing really after. And we did, but the game was lost the first game.
And then the other semi-final we should obviously talk about is the Keith Hackett semi-final.
Well, yeah. I mean, let's the 1991 season. We get promoted, of course. Like generally that season, quite a successful season, like you say, the FA Cup semi-final too, and then Keith Hackett. Robbed. But a quick word on the atmosphere. Firstly, that game.
I think that atmosphere was probably the best atmosphere I've ever been involved. To get Gailey sent off after 25-30 minutes against a good Forest side at the time, Roy Keane, they were top team. You could handicap. We had a go for about 20. Well, we had a go for the 60 minutes, but we had a couple of opportunities. George hit the post. I hit the post as well, and we had a couple of little opportunities. Didn't go our way. Pitch was rubbish, absolutely rubbish. So it didn't suit either style of football, Forest or us, but with that extra man. And obviously we end up losing, but that atmosphere to this day will live with me for the rest of my life. I mean, it was goosebumps. It was Billy Bond's Clout Blue Army.
Billy Bond told us about that,
shaking. The actual stadium was shaking, and obviously their Nottingham Forest players, they just couldn't believe it. They just what supporters, unbelievable supporters. Even Brian Clough, I think it was just incredible. The actual atmosphere. We were 3-0 down, 4-0 down, and it was just Billy Bond's Clout Blue Army rocking the actual place. It was just incredible. Did it fire you up as a player when you're hearing that? Even though you're 4-0 down, you're like... That's what I said about West Ham fans. They can play such an important role. When I do my ambassador role at the club, and I just said, you don't realise when you get behind the team, it gives you that buzz, real buzz. And you can be that 12th man. People say about that 12th man, but rest assured, if you got that buzz in that stadium, and that's obviously we might talk about the Olympic Stadium, when the Chicken Run was there and you had that support, it was, give me the ball, I want to show, I want to prove, I want to help the fan, I want to get this atmosphere going again. Brilliant.
It's a shame. We don't do it enough. We have snippets now. There's like 10-minute spells, 15-minute spells where the atmosphere is properly buzzing.
Pumping.
But not quite enough.
No.
Yeah. And that 91 season, obviously successful, promoted, but Oldham come back again and steal the trophy off us. We were so close to winning the league.
I can remember it to this day. We played Notts County. I think we got beat 2-0. We only needed a point or win the game.
Yeah.
And disappointingly lost it. But we're going up to the director's box, and we've been told that we've won the league.
Yeah.
We've won the league. We get up to the director's box, and we obviously fans are on the pitch, and we're sort of half celebrating because the performance weren't great, but we lost the game. But we've been told that we're champions, and all of a sudden we're up there, and within about 30 seconds of being up there, obviously they've said that Oldham won the game.
Yeah. I was on the pitch.
Oldham have won the game, and we're like, oh my goodness,
I was on the pitch, and I thought in my, because I was only young, I remember the announcer said it.
Yeah.
And I thought he was joking.
What would you thought?
I don't know why in my head. I just thought, he must be joking. We've won this.
But it was, I think did they need to win 2-0 or 1-0? I don't know, but it was either drawing or it was 1-0 and they needed another goal to get, I don't know, but it was a last minute goal, and one of your viewers might be able to tell us, but they scored in the 88th, 89th minute. Had they not scored that, we would have won the league even without the, obviously getting beat. But that was a disappointing thing because you would have got a winner's medal.
Yeah.
We got nothing for that.
Yeah.
And when you look back on your career, what medals you've got, that determines what sort of career you've had.
Yeah.
I played in 6 semi-finals.
Yeah.
Lost all 6 semi-finals.
Do you know that whole
6
period?
semi-finals.
We're not
That
taking
whole
you to the
period.
Football Blogging Awards.
No.
It's funny, that whole period, like from 86 through to you leaving, it's just like so close to glory all the time.
It really was.
So many flashpoints, so many moments where you're like,
Yep.
just that close, like a decision like
And
Keith Hackett.
also think about
Yeah.
a team like Oldham.
Yeah.
I mean,
can understand
no
what's
one is on a
Oldham.
podcast talking about that season with an Oldham fan now. It's not fair, is it?
You look at Oldham, I mean, that pitch did help them massively that year, and, you know,
Yeah.
Oh,
thank goodness the plastic pitch is not around at the minute. You know, that state pitches. But yeah, we were just such. I mean, it was so interesting being a West Ham fan because you always had something either going on towards the last game, either relegation, promotion, or cup final appearance, maybe.
it is.
You know,
That's
it kept
why,
you on
that
the
is
air.
why it's brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, this run at the
Into the
minute is
six,
another. It's
Yeah.
brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then the next scene could be another 5 losses.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. Well, speaking of losses and tragedy, 91, 92, your final season at the club, we end up finishing bottom. I mean,
Disappointed. I'm really disappointed. I mean, people say about you probably underachieved in your career, and I would agree with them. But at the time, I was just going through my first sort of injury problems, my Achilles problems, and that was the last year at West Ham. I used to run on my toes. I used to have quick feet, and I had high arches. So that last year, I had injections in my Achilles. Obviously, I had an MRI scan as well, and the cortisones probably fixed it for about 6 weeks, and then they referred back. Obviously, that was the thing in those days, cortisones. So I didn't play particularly well that season either. I mean, you know, there was a lot of hype on me. But I had already been offered a 4-year contract by the club, and I wanted to sign. Liam Brady was my agent at the time.
I was going to ask about that because Liam Brady, another player as your manager, as your agent.
He could get away with that. I mean, Liam Brady, he was brilliant. Once again, I've got the utmost respect for Liam Brady as a person and as a father figure to me at the time. When he came to West Ham, he was a big, big name in football.
Yeah.
And for him to share his experiences with us, I was a young lad, we all looked up to him, and he was just a magician, even at 31, 32. But I ended up training with him and playing in the first team, and he's looked at me and he's gone, over 3 months, 4 months, you're the best player in the side. I said, yeah, no. He said, no, you are. He said, what are you on? He asked me what I was on, and I said, about 140 quid a week. He said, what, 140? He said, you got some boys on here, thousands of pounds a week. He said, you've got to be paid, not equivalent, but more than what you're getting. I'm like, no, it's all right. I'm just happy to play.
Yeah.
I said, it's not really about the money at all. He said, no, I'm going to go in for you. I'm going to go and get a better deal for you because I ain't having this. And he was such a strong, powerful figure. He went in and got me a great deal. I mean, not obviously, but fantastic. But he didn't charge me. And I thought, oh, dear, the respect and the for somebody to do that and the career that he had. So anyway, he did that, didn't charge. So when he retired, he said to me, he said, right, okay, I'm going to look after you properly now. He said, I've got big things for you. He said, you're going to have the career that I had because obviously I've been with you for 3 years. He said, you're going to be up there massively. So anyway, a year passed. West Ham offered a 4-year deal on me, and he put me, his best mate was a guy called Finton Jury. He was going to look after me because he got the Celtic job, Liam did, so he couldn't do it then. So anyway, West Ham came and spoke to me, 4-year. So I had my pen in my hand and I was about to sign it, and his mate Finton Jury said, no, don't sign, don't be too... I said, this is my club, I want to sign. I said, fantastic money, it's not about them, but fantastic. He said, no, don't. He said, don't be too, be patient. He said, they'll come back with a bit more, and, obviously, it's nice not to be too keen, because I said, okay, cool, but I want to sign it. So weeks had passed, and I phoned him up. I said, any news? He said, no, not really. I said, well, when are we going to make a decision, sort of thing? And he said, well, they'll come back in the next few months. So a few months went by, didn't happen. And all of a sudden I got this feeling, well, my form had dropped a little bit as well. And so he was sort of not telling the truth. West Ham thought I didn't want to sign, so they're saying, oh, we've offered you this money, it's fantastic, you either sign it or you don't. They were starting to say, well, if you ain't signing it, we'll withdraw it. And I didn't realise, I said at the time, Billy was the manager, Harry came in, and I still hadn't signed, and all I wanted to do was sign. And Harry came in. This is the first year that he came in and said to me, he said, sign the contract, sign, I want you, the reason I've come here to work with you, obviously, he said, I swear on my kid's life is to work with players like you. Billy's brought me in, he said, I've been at Bournemouth, and he said, I want to get you back in the England squad, you've been in the Bs, 21s, bits and pieces like that. He said, I really, really want to work with you and get you there. So I thought, he picked me up a little bit this pre-season, and I thought that was a big thing for him to say that. Billy'd always said, I wouldn't sell you. And so anyway, I went home, a couple of days later, I thought, dear, really, really looking forward to that. Hopefully I'm going to sign a contract. Decided Billy and obviously Harry both had said, get rid of him. Billy Harry's told him, get rid of him. So I got railroaded. My agent obviously didn't want me to sign because they want me to railroad to go to Scotland. So Billy phoned me up and just said, we've had the decision with Harry, we're deciding to sell you. You can go and speak to Celtic if you want. And I was gutted. So I went on Wednesday. I didn't sign until Friday lunchtime, 2 days. I didn't want to sign. Liam pulled me, and because English clubs weren't in Europe at the time, Scottish clubs were in Europe. Yep. So he said, look, you can play in Europe and you can be a big player. Here's a big Celtic were a massive side at the time, Rangers, and still are. But I didn't want to go. It was 5 to 12, and he said, I've got 5 minutes. You've got to sign. You owe me. He said, and you can make a career. He said, but I've got 5 minutes before the deadline for the European people to sign. So I eventually signed, and it wasn't what I wanted. I flew back home, and I cried the whole way. Flew back home, and my dad was going to cancel it. And to this day, my dad was going to phone up Liam Brady and say, look, he doesn't want to go. His heart's will. And I said, Dad, I can't. I've signed it. I'm gutted that I have. I've got to go through it. I said, that sort of person. But that's how much I wanted to. But Harry sort of killed me a little bit as well. And I thought I was going to sign. My agent didn't help, but I owed Liam a lot. And, it just transpired that I didn't sign and went to Celtic. And that, I don't like looking back, but that was a massive regret if I had one. But, I played for a big club in Scotland, and my son was born up in Scotland. I met my ex-wife. So there was pros and cons, but I could never ever imagine me leaving West Ham, and I was gutted, to be honest, and to this day. Yeah.
I was going to say, I got into West Ham 92, I was 9 years old, so you can do the maths at home. But
he's now 47.
Stuart Slater was this name who's there was this great player, but he's not here anymore. And Stuart Slater, in my mind, was always like an exotic fruit. It's like an exotic foreign player or something like that. It's funny because my uncles and everyone used to talk so fondly of you, and whipping down the wing. He was like, we don't really have anyone like him anymore, but it's still good.
It'd be funny, I went to Scotland and went to Celtic for a year and a half, and the club, once again, another club that was in financial difficulties, got rid of me in 15, 16 months. Yeah. Once again, my Achilles flared up. I missed part of the season. And I then left Liam and Finn and Jury and went on my own, agent-wise, and my brother-in-law helped me. And we made a phone call back to Harry Redknapp at the time, a year and a half down the line, seeing if West Ham would take me back, because obviously I said I made a mistake. And I think Harry's response was, if we keep signing ex-players, we'll be bringing Trevor Brooking back in. So I thought I took that as if he didn't really want me. So it was funny. I ended up going back to Ipswich with John.
Yeah, with John Lyall. So we're going to say, you're at West Ham, then you go up to Celtic and Liam Brady, and then down to Ipswich, John Lyall. We had a question from Neil Fairchild. You played under Brady at Celtic, Lyall at Ipswich. Did you have a policy of only playing under ex-Hammers?
Seems like it, doesn't it? But I think my decisions were made for me by other people. I mean, I know that obviously with Liam Brady, I had no idea that I was going to go to Celtic because I wanted to sign for West Ham. But having not signed for West Ham, in their eyes, they thought I wanted to move, and I'm waiting for my agent to say, well, what's happening? Which didn't happen. So I put my trust in him. The Celtic thing to Ipswich, I was prepared for a game in the UEFA Cup for Celtic, and because I was classed as a foreigner, they only had 3 foreign rules up there at the time. Packy Bonner played, Tony Mowbray played, and Andy Payton. So they were the 3 foreigners. So I got left out completely that night. So that night I got pulled in by Liam before the game, and he said, I thought it was the reason why I weren't playing. And he told me, he said, I'm selling you tonight. He said, John Lyle's up here and Charlie Woods from Ipswich, you can talk to him after the game. And I'm like, what? What? Yeah. I'm preparing for a game. You've got John Lyle and Charlie Woods up here from Ipswich. You've sold me, and it's the first thing I've known. Oh my goodness! And that decision was made for me. Yes, I had to make the ultimate decision, but I spoke to John afterwards, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness! And in that time, by the time I flew down Thursday morning after the Wednesday night game, Chelsea came in for me, and a couple other clubs had come in for me, and. Once again, I just knew what John was about. Liam was trying to protect me, saying, go back with John, try and get your career back on track because it hasn't worked here for I don't know what reason. He said, John will get the best out of you. But I knew at that time my career was going downhill because of the injuries, and people don't realise the injuries play a massive part. But both decisions, both teams, answering that question was taken out my hands at the start. Initially.
We've got some questions from the forum too, James.
Right, E17 says, was that goal against Everton the best you ever scored?
Probably the most famous one because it was on Sky on the Monday night. That was the only game on Sky, and that was when Sky were just getting big. So that was the only game that was on Monday, and Everton were top side in those days. Yeah. So when I scored the winning goal, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I was back page of the Sun, inside the Sun all week. So it wasn't an important goal, but for my career, everybody started to know about me. But I remember scoring a good goal against Sunderland.
Chalk said the goal you scored, it didn't touch the floor from when Ludo drop kicked it.
That's the one.
And you took it down, crashed the volley in the top corner. Was that your favourite ever goal? It's still in my top 10 West Ham goals.
Sunderland, yep. That was Ludo McCloskey. It might even been Phil Parks. It was when you were allowed to pick the ball up when you passed it back. I think Alvin or Tony passed the ball back. Phil's kicked it. He's hit it long. Eamon Dolan's flicked it on. I've chested it and volleyed without touching it. Route 1, not West Ham one.
Claret Dave says, have you still got a house with the crossed hammers built into the front
I
door?
go by it all the time, but unfortunately I had to sell it when I got divorced. But I still go by it, still got the hammers in, gutted.
Hammers?
Yeah, my dad was a bricklayer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, put the hammers in.
Royston's my favourite tweet. He says, in our household, it's still, the word see you later is still followed by Stuart Slater.
See ya. Did you get a lot of that?
No, it's only a couple. Couple, yeah. I mean, I bet you Celtic and Ipswich fans don't say that.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't see the best of me, really.
The guy, Graham, who runs this damn website, says your 11,000 keep-ups record.
Yep. Is
that still a record?
I still do a lot of keepy-uppies to this day. I incorporate a skill session that I do. Since my injuries retired me, I can do a skill session which it's sort of mastery of the ball, and I'm a great believer that your first touch gives you so much time. I mean, you look at time in 100 metres when Usain Bolt beats his next person, maybe 0.2 of a second, how the big distance that is, massive so if you've got an unbelievable touch, that 0.2 in football is probably a couple of yards. Yeah. So if your touch is so good, it's going to give you that extra 0.2 of a second where you can get a shot away or can get away from. And my skill sessions, and I'm a great believer in that, mastery of the ball. And I still demonstrate to this day, keeping the ball up, running with the ball, figure of 8, running with the ball, keeping the ball up, in and out of cones, keeping it up. But it's balance, proprioception, skillful players. Yeah. It's all to do with thousands of touches on the ball. And that's the West Ham way.
And so tell us about what you do now. You're at Chelmsford, right?
Yeah, I'm at Chelmsford City, and we do an academy there with Chelmsford College. They pay my money, Chelmsford College, but it's for players that have not made the grade properly or not even been in the academy, but still continue maybe with their football with some sort of academics, so like a BTEC, that will give you UCAS points to go to university. So when they've finished school, they've got an element of playing football, an element of doing theory. And we've been doing it for 4 or 5 years now, and we've been quite successful. That we've had players that have not been in the academy system, where they've trained day in, day out with us. We've realised the potential, made a few phone calls, got people to come and watch play these boys, and got pro contracts at Brighton, Brentford.
Right.
We've had 12 boys that represented the first team at Chelmsford City first team, which is Conference South, 6th tier. So there is a progression and there's an exit route from that, you know, providing you're half decent.
Yeah.
And with the training and the expertise that we've got I've got a good friend of mine, Kurt Gamer, who's an A licence. He played under Bobby Moore at Southend and coached her. Yeah. Very good. We've got another coach, Dean Harding now, who's just joined us. We had Richard Johnson, who was at Premier League at Watford with me. We've got Dave Cornwall, A licence. So we've got real good pedigree and understanding of football and youth development, really, how to produce players. And, you know, having been at the academy at West Ham, prior to that, you know, it gave me a good insight of, you know, how West Ham produce players as well.
Right.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, we should move on and bring right up to date and talk about Watford.
Yep.
This Saturday, you know. It's big, Stuart.
Yeah, I'm going to that game.
Oh, yeah.
I've got obviously Watford. I played for Watford at the end, but I couldn't get West Ham tickets. I wanted West Ham in, but I've got a couple of contacts at Watford, so I'm that excited. I'm going to the game.
I'm in with Watford end as well. I'm in with my girlfriend's dad's a Watford fan, so me and him are going to sit there.
You've got a girlfriend?
in the West Ham end or the Watford end?
No, in the Watford end. I'm undercover as well.
There might be a few.
I see.
West Ham in Watford. Yeah,
quite a little wink as we walk by.
Jeez. The Watford fans are not too bad, to be honest. I mean, I've lived in that area for a long time. That was my last club, and lived it. You know, I think they'll appreciate the way West Ham are trying to play. Now. I mean, obviously they want to turn us over, but you know, I'm looking forward. I'm really excited already talking about it now.
What do you reckon? Score?
Watford, they've done really well. They were a very well organised side. I saw the game on TV against Arsenal, and for 45 minutes, Arsenal found it very difficult to break them down. I mean, it wasn't until sort of halfway into the second half that they broke them down and got the goals. But so, you know, we've got to be patient. It's not a gimme, I mean, obviously, but our away form, 13 out of 15 points. My goodness, if we don't get the 3 points, it'll be here. Yeah. What's happened? We've got a crisis.
No. It's funny though, isn't it? Because I mean, when we drop points, it's not against the good teams.
Yeah.
When we're losing at home to Bournemouth and Leicester, you think Watford away, like bloody hell, this is one we could slip up on.
Yeah.
It's a weird one, isn't it?
Tricky.
Yeah, I think if we approach the game right, I'm sure Slaven will organise them right. There'll be opportunities for us and we've just got to take the opportunities. I mean, big thing when you're coach, you know, can you do well in your final third and in their final third? It's about the final thirds, really. Can you take chances and can you stop those opportunities?
Do you think we're going to do it?
I can't ever see us losing again. 3-0 Watford. I like to think we're so full of confidence. I like to think it will just be too much for them. It'll be a hell of a fight, I think. Yeah. But I think it will just be too much for them. I reckon a 2-1. 2-1 West Ham.
It's easy to get carried away, but if we win, I can see us winning the league.
Carried away? Did you say?
Yeah.
What do you say after the match on Saturday? This league's too easy. Can we enter another one? I've put us in for La Liga next year.
Yeah.
On a serious note, I mean, as I said, what Bilic has done so far has been magnificent. And obviously the staff and the playing, more than probably what we've expected already. Even if we go through the season now, and that's not being a down, but you know, the season to win it, the teams that we've to beat Chelsea. Oh, it's great, you know. Don't want. Of course, we want success, but you know, we just got to keep the lid on it a little bit. Though we want to be excited and do well. We don't want to put too much. We don't want to put too much pressure on them. Yeah, that's the word that I'm looking. We don't want to put too much pressure on them and be disappointed if we are. Yeah. I mean, that is being a West Ham fan. But. Yeah, they've done a great job so far and may it continue. Yeah.
We should say as well, you're an ambassador for the club and you do hospitality things on match days. How do you feel the atmosphere's changed between Big Sam and Slav? Like, obviously being in there amongst the fans. I mean, it's palpable, isn't it?
Well, dare I say it, I mean, obviously they're getting value for money nowadays.
Yeah.
They're seeing attacking football. Whereas Sam, brilliant, got results. You know, that what he did for us was what we needed at the time. We needed a bit of stability and we needed somebody that knew. Brilliant manager, brilliant for that. But Slaven's taken it on a little bit more. if we get beat 3-4, 4-3, or what, the fans sometimes would like that. Not all the time, but because they're getting value for money and exciting football, I think that's what Slaven brings and will bring. He knows the way. He knows it is about winning football. There are pressures on it now that you need to be quite successful to keep the money coming in and to be up there. But he's got a brand where it's about attacking football as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. All right then, Stuart, thank you very much for joining us.
We should very quickly ask, because I know we've run out of time and we've run out of tape, but favourite bowling memory?
Favourite bowling memory?
Yeah, before we go.
Ooh, for me or for it to...
For you.
For me, it would probably be the quarter-final of the FA Cup, to win 2-1 and then to be carried aloft after that game. That would be what people would recognise me, and I probably recognise me with being at West Ham. Yeah, that was a great moment.
Yeah. What a moment. Great times. Well, Stuart, thank you so much for all those memories.
No, you're welcome, guys.
And times like, you're on Twitter, right? But I noticed your Twitter account is relatively inactive, shall we say, since 2013.
Yeah, maybe because my age, but I know. Possibly, no. I obviously want to wish Stevie Bacon all the way. I mean, that's my last tweet just after come back on Twitter. I mean, I do look at the tweets, and Stevie Bacon was an absolute amazing character at the club and photographer, and we wish him well really now, and I know that he's got a dinner coming up next year, so hopefully West Ham supporters will support that like they do, and
Stevie Bacon and Ken Dyer, actually, who's been reporting. He's ill as well, so good luck.
Good luck, Ken, proper West Ham people.
Yeah, excellent. And as are you, Stuart. Thank you very much.
Thank you.